Yellowstone supervolcano eruption warning. Human brains could be, quote-unquote, popped apart. When the supervolcano at Yellowstone National Park next erupts, scientists warn in a documentary. Under the surface of the picturesque National Park of Yellowstone, filled with 60% of the world's geysers and over 10,000 hydrothermal areas, geysers and hot springs everywhere, lies an enormous magma chamber. And according to an analysis of earthquake data 8 years ago, the magma chamber is 50 miles long, 12 miles wide. 3 previous eruptions formed a caldera, a large volcanic crater formed after the emptying of the magma chamber, and this measures about 43 miles by 28 miles. The 3 super-eruptions occurred 2.1 million years ago, 1.3 million years ago, and about 640,000 years ago. These were super-eruptions. We've also had a lava eruption 70,000 years ago, and from what the USGS geologists tell us, another 80 eruptions since then. Though Yellowstone is due an eruption, based on the timeline of previous eruptions, scientists believe the proportion of the molten rock in the magma chamber is far too low to allow for another super-eruption, the least and the last of which dwarfs anything seen in modern day. Now, I have been posting videos on super-eruptions, especially Yellowstone, but there are those geologists that claim many times it doesn't have to do with the condition of the magma in the magma chamber. It also has to do with cracks from the surface working downwards towards the roof of the magma chamber that can crack the magma chamber and cause eruption. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box. Even though Yellowstone is due an eruption based on timeline of previous eruptions, scientists believe the proportion of molten rock in the magma chamber is too low to allow for another super-eruption. The eruption 640,000 years ago was believed to have been 1,000 times bigger than the eruption of the devastating Mount St. Helens volcano eruption of 1980. The Mount St. Helens eruption in Washington reduced hundreds of square miles to wasteland, causing over $1 billion in damage, equivalent of $3.5 billion today. Supervolcanoes are defined by eruptions of volcanic explosivity index, VEI, of 8, the largest recorded value on the index. Mount St. Helens had a VEI of 5. Eruptions occur when magma in the mantle rises, but is unable to break through the mantle. Pressure continues to build in a large, consistently growing magma pool until the crust is no longer able to contain the pressure. So these eruptions can occur at hotspots, such as Yellowstone, or Iceland, or even the La Palmas, which is today erupting, or even, of course, Kilauea in Hawaii, or at subduction zones, notably Toba in Indonesia. The 2004 Naked Science documentary Supervolcanoes explored how a Yellowstone eruption would affect the world, and the impact would have on the United States in particular. The blast itself would be enormous, but nothing compared to what would follow. The documentary's narrator said, "Spreading out from Yellowstone would come one of nature's most deadly forces, violent deadly clouds of rock, ash, and gas called pyroclastic flows." Professor Bill McGuire, one of Britain's leading volcanologists, told the documentary, "Pyroclastic flows are the nastiest of all volcanic phenomena. They are blasts of fragmented magma, hot ash, and incandescent gases that travel at hurricane velocities." He said they blast out across the ground surface in all directions from the eruption, and hidden beneath the cloud of ash is a mass of tumbling rocks. The flow travels at high speeds, at temperatures of 1,500 degrees Celsius, destroying everything it touches. Professor McGuire then says, death comes pretty quickly, not from the actual burning of the skin outside, but from the inhaling of these very, very hot gases. They really wreak the lungs and the throat almost instantaneously. After that, the water in the human tissue is boiled off, and there are cases in some past eruptions where people's skulls have been popped apart as the brain has essentially exploded. When the Taupo volcano in New Zealand, another supervolcano in the North Island of New Zealand, last erupted, it produced one of the most violent eruptions in geological recent times. That happened around 27,000 years ago, and it was almost an extinction level event. Anthropologists believe that only 2,000 humans survived that worldwide. Can you imagine? Now, around 1,800 years ago, Taupo erupted in what is known as the Hatepa eruption. It remains the most violent eruption in the world in the last 5,000 years. The main pyroclastic flow climbed some 5,000 feet and covered the land with 50 miles of igneous rock ignimbrite. Another eruption at Taupo, the Oruanu eruption approximately 26,500 years ago, caused even greater disruption. That was a super eruption. The tephra covered much of New Zealand's central North Island up to 600 feet deep, with the Chatham Islands some 1,000 kilometers away, coated with 18-centimeter layer of ash. In Yellowstone's case, an eruption is not considered anything like being imminent. Scientific analysis in 2013 suggested that around 6 to 8% of the magma chamber, with an underground volume of 4,000 square kilometers, is filled with molten rock. Even though the magma chamber is about 2.5 times bigger than previously thought, the proportion of molten rock, from what geologists believe, is far too low to allow for another eruption. Further research back in 2017 showed that the magma chamber underwent a substantial increase in temperature and change in composition prior to the eruption. The analysis suggests that these changes could occur within decades, although volcanologists had once thought that this might take centuries. No, a super-eruption can happen much faster, in decades from what they found. This is by Charles Pittock on Express. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support.